Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be showing you the Aston Martin GT12 at max in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Thank you to Venom for these races. I did make a video a while back about my own GT12 at 2 stars if you would like to check that out. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and enjoy the video. So these races were recorded previous to the multiplayer update, so they were in the rush season. And one thing that I've gotten more questions about than almost anything else recently is how I feel about the new multiplayer knockdown system, because it hasn't changed like a whole lot, but it's changed enough to be noticeable to a lot of people, and I know most of the people that I've talked to about it have not liked it. Personally, I see one good change and a couple of bad changes. The one good change, I would say, is that they made it so if you are being 360'd, you will not be knocked down by somebody else who is also 360'ing. This will get rid of those annoying mid-air knockdowns on jumps where everybody is 360'ing, and the person who ends up being on top is the one who's going to knock down the others just by touching them in the air, even though the rest of them are 360'ing too. That will not happen anymore, and I have tested that, and it has worked well. I do like that. However, the issue is with the new Shockwave knockdown system. Previously, Shockwave was immune to most sorts of knockdowns, and it would mostly knock down everything else, but now they made that completely set in stone. When you are in Shockwave, you are 100% immune to knockdowns, and when you're in Shockwave, you will almost instantly knock down anybody you touch who is not in Shockwave. Now, some may think this sounds okay, but the problem with it is that Shockwave has become even more powerful than it used to be, which might not seem so bad, except when you consider this makes cars which have very long Shockwave even more powerful than before, which is, guess what, those very super agile cars like the Huracan and the Corvette the Game Loft was trying to get rid of from being so often in multiplayer, and now we are seeing cars like the Corvette and the Viper and ones like that even more than we did before. And because it is a classic season, there's actually less variety than there was in the rush season, because people now care more about coming in first or second or whatever, and so they will be even more likely to choose cars that they are most comfortable with, meaning that you will see, well, even more Vipers and Huracans and stuff like that than before. So I think this update kind of did the opposite of what they wanted it to, but making those cars more powerful than before and even more prevalent. But I will still say the single icing on the cake there is with that 360 fix, but even that is not so big considering what multiplayer is going to look like now. In the last race there, which was in rush season, everybody was driving a different car. There was an Aventador SV, there was a Huayra BC, there was a Porsche 918 Spider, and there was a pretty good variety, which is what happened mostly before this update after they nerfed the Corvette, and I would say the rush multiplayer was pretty good. While I did not like Rush when it first came out, I will say now that I kind of got to enjoy it as more of a stress-free way to race in the game. While I do think it was a bit long and boring at times, it was fun to do in, say, live streams, for example, because you didn't have to worry a whole lot and there wasn't a whole lot of stress behind it, which was nice in those kinds of situations. But now you don't really get that because everything is going to be that same extremely skill-based way, which some people are going to like, and I probably would have like a year ago, but maybe not so much now. And even that wouldn't be so bad, except that now you can get demoted, which you used to be able to, but they made it so that you can continue to use those cars that you got to once you got to higher leagues in lower ones. Like say you were in Gold League, for example, and you had a bunch of bad races and you got demoted down to Silver League. Well, you would still be able to use the Corvette and the Huracan and the Cinar 1 and the Apollo N and all of those high-end B-Class cars in Silver League, where everybody is going to be using C-Class cars, where, by the way, pretty much everybody uses the Pininfarina. Talk about lack of variety. And adding on to that, you don't see your rating you get at the end of a race until you are in Platinum or Legend League, and I would assume it's pretty much the same way with the leagues in the other seasons as well. I do not like this because, as I said in the previous video, I'm a numbers guy. I don't know how other people feel about that, but again, it's mostly been a negative response from what I have seen. So unfortunately, while they have tried to do good with multiplayer in this update, I think it backfired on them, and most people do not like it and wish it was back to how it was before. I don't particularly imagine they are going to be changing anything, But those are my thoughts on it and what I've gathered from talking to you guys as well. Wow, I didn't mean for half the video to be about that, but I guess it was a pretty important topic. So I guess now it's a good time to say a bit about the car that I'm actually showing in this video. So the GT12 was added to the game, I believe, as sort of a counterpart to the Corvette Grand Sport, because it was ever so slightly faster and it had around the same agility. And in that race, Venom passes that Huracan at the last second to come in first place. So since the GT12 wasn't nerfed at the same time the Corvette was, it is now better than the Corvette in pretty much every aspect. And not many people know about this, because this car just wasn't nearly as popular as the Corvette when it first came out, and I don't imagine that it will continue to be. It hasn't been made as easily accessible as that car either. But I will say that if anybody does manage to get their hands on this car, it is better than the Corvette if anyone was wondering about it, especially now after that nerf a while back, and it's definitely a good one to try out in multiplayer, especially with the new system with shockwaves being so overpowered. This car has a very good nitro efficiency, so you will be able to stay in shockwave for quite a long time, as you can see here. Now, I do not think that rush seasons have gone away forever, so hopefully for those of you who do still like them, or would like them to be at least still a part of the game to see occasionally, like I would at least, they hopefully will be coming back at some point, do not know when. It would be kind of interesting if they alternated between classic and rush seasons. I think that would be a decent way to do it, especially given that some people like one, some people like the other, but don't make them as long. Like, make them 2 weeks maximum, I would say, would be good. In this race, we'll see how the GT12 does against two Huracans, as well as a Carrera GT, who's at a lower rank, but that car is actually one of the ones in the third season, actually, it's at this point. It's the 4th of July special season. It's kind of funny, but half the cars in it are ones that I don't have. The Carrera, the Avia, and the Genti Aculone, some of the only cars that have come out in special events that I don't actually have, and they have them all in one season, go figure. But they do have the Senna and the Aperta, as well as the Bugatti Chiron, and if you know that my Senna and my Aperta are at 1 and 2 stars respectively, you can bet which car I've been using most of the season. So Venom actually got pretty far ahead in this race and beat these Huracans by quite a long shot. But now let's kick things up a notch and see how he does in the Legend League against an Egoista, an Icona, and a W Motors like an Hypersport, as well as a Huracan again. You can't really escape them. Just in the time since my last multiplayer video, we've gotten 2 new special events in Asphalt 9, the first of which was the Bailey Blade GT1 special event, which I'm assuming is going to be a lot like the special event like that of the Sion, which is probably going to be one where it's decently easy to get a good number of blueprints, but you probably won't be able to get enough to fully unlock the car, because just like the Sion, at a certain number of conditions you can buy packs for this car. It's 175 in particular for this one, and it looks like a lot of the cars in this one are going to be ones that people already have maxed, but not all of them. Like, it uses the Hemi, the GT350, the Corvette Grand Sport, and some other ones that I think the majority of people are going to have at least close to max, but there are a couple that I don't think as many people will. For example, the Corvette ZR1 is required on one of the later days. I do not have that one maxed, I have it at 4 out of 5 stars. That was one that came during the Rimac special event that I think most people are able to get to 3 stars or so in that event if you want it, but probably not maxed. So we'll have to see just how many blueprints we can actually get in the event, and how many we'll have to buy in order to obtain the car. It is true that the event does seem easy at first, but given that this is really one of the fastest and best cars in the game, even though it doesn't drive particularly amazing, I can't imagine they would continue to make it this easy. So I would say be prepared for a jump in difficulty, and don't let the easy beginnings of this fool you. And we've got the Ford GT Mark II special event, which is a Grand Prix, and this is one that honestly I'm not sure if it's even worth going for if you don't have a lot of tokens. While it's a decent car to drive at max, it's really not going to be particularly useful, I think. I'm going to at least try to win it, as I do with all these special event cars, but I'm not going to sink a ton of tokens into it. So now it is time for my general review of this car. It is one of the higher end B-class cars, not a king by any means, but a better multiplayer car than I think a lot of people probably realize it is, as it really is better than the Corvette now. It has a top speed of 217 miles per hour versus that car's 214, and its acceleration, handling, and nitro efficiency are all very good. And to end off the video, we have a bit of a crazy stunt that Venom was able to do, And this was actually a very close ending because they almost caught up to him, nearly passed him, but he was able to pull out the victory. Thank you to Venom for these races, and thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!